Are we on the air? How we sound? Peace, power, and prosperity. Welcome. It's going to be an exclusive live. We're going to be breaking down the game. And if anybody watched the game and you knew that there was something going on more than you can see, then you was most likely right. If you knew it was something going on more than you could recognize with your normal civilian eyes, but you felt something with your spiritual eyes, then you was right. I'm going to let the music catch up to us. Yeah. Peace, power, and prosperity. I'm Yalila Kwame, and welcome to another introspection. Okay? This is an introspective aspect of Let's Get Rich, where we dive into the mindset of certain people, places, and even things. The thing today we're going to be speaking on is the Super Bowl. Yes, Super Bowl 2026. Now, I know some of us conscious beings, okay, some of us did not see the game, okay? Some of us didn't get a chance to be promoted the game because obviously the algorithm knows who to promote the game to. I myself didn't even know it was a football game going on. No. How many of us also didn't know that there was a football game going on? I know I didn't. I had to be called by certain individuals that asked me, are you watching the halftime game? Are you watching what is happening on TV at the moment during the halftime of the Super Bowl game? I said, wow, I didn't even know it was still a Super Bowl, and I didn't even know it was a Super Bowl going on at that moment. What I was doing was streaming. What I was doing was working. What I was doing was teaching an intimate crowd, okay, on the mindset of fasting, okay? Teaching an intimate crowd on why we in the year of the horse and why, well, actually the year of the fire horse. Okay, teaching this crowd, why are we in the year of the fire horse, another horse year, okay? And what does the fire mean and what did the horse mean? I did not know that there was a Super Bowl game happening in that moment, as a lot of us didn't. But one thing I did know, one thing for sure and two things for certain, is I knew there was going to be some symbolism involved. I knew that there was going to be an introspection needed to break down exactly what is happening and what was happening. Okay? And that's why we're here, and that's what we're here for. Some of us seen that game and we may have first noticed the colors. Always notice the colors. Okay? We had two colors that resonate with two different chakras. Okay? And these particular chakras gonna tell a lot about what was happening in the game that may had not been seen by your normal carnal vision. It would have took some spiritual eyes to notice this, even some emotional intelligence to notice what was happening, okay? And on top of a little bit of science, okay? So the first colors we may have noticed is the red and the blue. The red and the blue represent two different chakras, and it also represents two different political parties, okay? The red chakra represents the root chakra. The blue chakra represents the throat chakra. Two different things are happening there. Okay? Two different things were happening there. We had the red chakra versus the blue chakra. And we also can say we had the red pill versus the blue pill. Okay? A lot of confusion is happening there. First and foremost, a lot of confusion is happening there. I'll go first on to the chakras, and then I'll go into how the confusions of the political parties add up to the symbolism. Okay? Nevertheless, the red chakra represents the root chakra. It represents the root chakra. Okay? And the red chakra was representing the Seahawks. Okay? This was representing the Seahawks. Let me go ahead and double check my references just to make sure. Just to make sure. I believe the red represented the Seahawks and the blue represented our Patriot fans. Correct? Correct? or y'all can correct me when I'm wrong. Let me go ahead and make sure that I'm right. Okay? Because from a chakra standpoint, it makes perfect sense. But again, I don't watch sports, I don't watch football, I don't watch people dance on plantations for money. Okay? And it was another way around. So this is the confusion. Now, we have the red representing, first off, let me reinstate the chakras. Let me go back to the chakras. Okay? Let me go back to the chakras. Can we do that? The red chakra represents the root chakra. The root chakra represents the beginning. It represents the household. It represents tradition. It represents upbringing. Okay? It represents almost the first laws put in place. It represents the rules. Okay? It represents a lot of founded personality and characteristic traits as it relates to an individual. And as it relates to a nation, that red chakra represents the past, what has already happened. Okay? So the Patriots were a representation of the red chakra, of the past, of the old laws, and how they are now, okay, at war with the new laws. See, there's two different powers at play at this very moment. Okay? There are two different legal systems. There are two different royal families. However you may put it, there may even be two different Illuminatis, the old Illuminati and the new Illuminati. See if we get some vocals on there. Okay? Hold on, we're going to do a mic check. I ain't got my moderator here. Let me go ahead and do another mic check. And if I got to run back anything that I just said, I will. I like things perfect. I like things right. That's all. Peace, power, and prosperity. I'm Yala Laquam, and welcome to another live stream of Let's Get Rich. Here we're going to be diving into the mindset and or the mind state of the Super Bowl game, of the symbolism of what it meant and what it didn't mean, okay, and all the hidden messages that were in the Super Bowl game, okay. I'm going to begin with the colors, okay, because the colors caught our attention. You know, colors are used as a science, sometimes as a dark science when you don't know the energy behind the colors. And if you're ever confused on the energy behind specific colors, just start with the chakras. The chakras are a good place to start, okay? Nevertheless, we had the red chakra versus the blue chakra. The red pill versus the blue pill. Okay? The Republicans versus the Democrats, or so it may seem. But if we lift the veil, okay, and peel a few layers back, we'll see that there was something else going on. I'm sure your spiritual eyes seen other things happen, especially through Bad Bunny's halftime show, especially, okay, as you begin to notice the symbolism, and more importantly, I noticed that the Super Bowl wasn't even promoted to everybody. I wasn't promoted the Super Bowl. I didn't see any commercials, although I don't watch television. I'm definitely online like everyone else is online periodically after work and on my breaks. I'm definitely online. Okay? I wasn't promoted the Super Bowl. They knew not to tell that to me. Algorithm did a good job. Okay? Algorithm knew who to sell it to. And they knew what to sell what to. Nevertheless, they first sold these colors. They sold the red against the blue. Okay, the red chakra against the blue chakra, the red pill against the blue pill. Okay, and what do these colors mean? Let's first go into the color red. When we look at the chakra that is red, it aligns with the root chakra. The root chakra is going to represent upbringings, original upbringings. It's going to represent tradition. For people, it's going to represent your characteristic traits that are deeply embedded inside you. It's going to also represent your personality traits that you may have gotten from your forefathers and foremothers. But the long story short, the red chakra is going to represent the past. Yes, it represents the past. Okay? It represents the past. It represents that urge to survive. It represents that need, okay, to want to move forward in life. That need, okay, to have to survive. Okay? So the red chakra is usually placed at the root of you. Okay? It's the root chakra. So it represents the roots. Okay? The roots of a person, the roots of a thing, and in our case, the roots of a country. The patriots represented this red chakra. Okay? They also represented the past, the word patriot, those that stand for their land, people that are standing for their country in a different way. In a different way. Not as the indigenous people stand for their land. Okay? They stand for the land, okay, as it was presented or as it was given to some of them, because some of them are the offspring of colonizers. Okay? So standing for the land doesn't always mean a good thing. Okay? You see how in Russia they call the land Mother Russia. But a patriot, okay? A patriot represents fatherly energy. Okay? Patriarchal energy. Okay? Nevertheless, these sons are representing the past. They are representing the old laws and the old way of doing things. And then we have the blue. What does the blue chakra represent? The blue chakra represents the throat chakra. Yes. And we live in a country and a time where the throat chakra is the most suppressed chakra. Why is this? Because nobody wants you to tell the truth. Then when the truth is told, the truth is either demonized, it's either ostracized, or we're going to lower the volume on that truth and no one will hear your truth. We're going to spread so many lies to where the truth looks crazy. So the throat chakra is indeed a suppressed chakra. Okay? So it makes sense that the suppressed chakra would also represent not only the future, but the now. So we got the red chakra representing the past, and then we have the future belonging to those that will speak up. Those that will utilize that throat chakra, okay? The future belongs to them. Okay? Nevertheless, we have the red versus the blue. The old versus the new. Because this is also a new energy that has entered the arena. Okay? Some of us even think that there is an old Illuminati and a new Illuminati. An old royal family and a new royal family. So we're going to see a lot of undoing of a lot of things that you may have grown up being used to. Okay? The music industry, for example, is taking a whole new washing and a rebranding. Okay? The medical system is also taking a rewashing. The real estate system. Okay? And our monetary system, the way we've been accumulating our funds for so long. Okay, not just as a country, but as a globe. Okay, worldwide, we're going into a tech-based industry. We're going towards a place where energy has become a commodity. Okay, energy is now a commodity. Energy from humans, is now a commodity. It's not just energy from gas. It's not just energy from fossil fuels. It's not just energy from oil. It's not just energy from the gold, from the other metals and nutrients that are on the earth. It's not just the energy pulled from there. No, raw energy, okay, has become a commodity. Excuse me. Raw energy has become a commodity. Raw energy is now a commodity. Okay? Everything is being commercialized. Okay? Even content. The whole reason content is becoming more popular because raw energy is now a commodity. You cannot just go and get free energy, especially any free raw energy. And now that we have entered the age of AI, of artificial intelligence, okay, we also entered the age of artificial energy. Now people are going to need, okay, sources of energy. Okay? Nevertheless, this is what we get when we get in the red chakra versus the blue chakra. The red chakra versus the blue chakra. The red pill versus the blue pill. Okay? Freedom versus escape. Okay? And sometimes escape may look like freedom, but it isn't always the truth, is it? Okay? It isn't always the truth. You see, because some of us are escaping, right, by living the lie. That is also an escape. You are escaping your responsibility to the truth, to your offspring, to yourself, to the globe, and to the people, things, animals that are in it. Okay? So escape isn't always freedom. Okay? Just like freedom isn't always freedom. Some people, you know how they say ignorant is bliss. Some people find it that being free and void of the truth is all they need to be able to go to sleep at night. Okay? So there was a lot of symbolism that was forcing you to either make a choice or realize that you already made a choice. I want you to understand that choice is always there because it has to be your choice. To truly be able to give your energy towards a particular thing, it has to be your choice. No one others. It has to be your choice. Okay? So the governing parties like to make sure it is indeed your choice, because then you'll be able to put the most amount of energy. Okay? Let's get on to what else these colors represent. These colors, the red and the blue, they also represent political parties. But I want us to understand that the political parties has also changed a few times. I'm going to say it again. The political parties has also changed a few times. Okay? We need to keep that in mind. Okay? So the way you're viewing your Republicans, if you are a Republican, be mindful, okay, that this may be indeed a different Republican Party than the one it began, as well as for the Democrats. This may be a different Democratic Party than the one it began. Okay? Let's also bring to the realization that I don't think either one of these parties are leaving you with a choice. A choice. One of them put more on the table than the others, but in reality, you need the entire table, don't you? Okay, so it's first a game. Let's speak on the Republicans. They represent the red states. Okay, they represent the red states. Now, just looking off into it, right, we'll see that we can see that the Republican Party, okay, the Republican Party, the red states, aren't what they seem to be. You see, New England, which is indeed a New England, okay, of the first place where a lot of them English settlers came to settle. In New England, these are Democratic states, okay? These are, Republican states that are ran by Democrats. New England is New England is Republican states ran by Democrats. I want you to understand that. Okay? Just as well as Seattle, Washington, okay, is also Democratic states ran by Republicans. See the confusion here? See how both parties are playing both sides of the field? I want you to also take in note that the Republican states are the poorest states. Just by that alone, okay, the New England states couldn't dare be Republican, could they? They aren't poor. Go look it up. I think they say the poorest Republican state is Mississippi. You never heard of Mississippi for being known of too many monetary assets. Mississippi never been known as being a rich state. Okay? So I want us first to know that, because it's put off sometimes that the Republicans are the richer. Okay? And that they're more concerned with the rich. This may be true. Now we see how you're getting rich. The states where the Republicans operate the state, they run the states, it seems to me that the poor people are the ones suffering. And when I mean poor, I mean middle class, working class, and everyone else. Everyone else who isn't seeing seven figures. Okay? And then in the Democratic states, okay, it seems to be more of a commonwealth. See where I'm going here? So first, there's confusion there, okay, that's not put off into the public. They want you to be convinced that you have a choice. You have a choice, and there are still electoral college votes. Why are there electoral votes? Why does the state need another person to vote for the state if there are individual ballots? Someone is convinced you aren't thinking. Okay? Because the illusion of choice is sometimes more powerful than choice itself. The illusion of choice. Okay? So that's first, go back into what was happening here. We have a Democratic and Republican state. Okay? We have the red pill and the blue pill. We have the left and the right. We have the old and the new. The future and the past. Okay? This is what the Super Bowl game was representing. The future and the past. How glim or bright it looks. Okay? For either party. The Seahawks represent the indigenous peoples of this earth. Not just of this country, of this earth. Okay? You can look at the Super Bowl like a coliseum. Okay? Look at it like a coliseum, just the games. Okay? The games that are played. But it involves multinationalities, multi-governments. Anything that involves the attention of people is going to involve multinationalities and multi-governments. There were a lot of powers that be that even had to agree with a lot of things for that to even take place. Okay? So the Seahawks, a beautiful bird. Okay? A bird that eats from the sea. A bird that you can see also on the totem poles, okay, of the Olmecs, the Aztecs, okay, even the Mayans used these totem poles that had birds on them. When you look at that bird, that is a Seahawk. That means a lot. Okay? The waters represent emotions. Okay? The air represent intellect. And it was the right balance, okay, of emotional wisdom and intellectual wisdom. Living within the same body. Okay? Working aside each other. Okay? Or working beside each other to come to the same common conclusions. That we need to do what's necessary for the earth and for the people on it. Okay? So, that's what the Seahawks represent. We got into what the Patriots represent, okay? And them coming together, okay? Because there was no real clashing. There was no real war. There was no real game. We say all that to say it's already written. We already know who the winner is. We know who the next 10 winners are, okay? The whole point was choice. The whole point was choice. So you can be convinced that you have a choice, that you have some say-so. And in all reality, your leaders already made the choices for you. Your governing parties already made the choices for you. In fact, they didn't trust you to being able to make the choice on your own. They thought that you would choose the right thing. Okay? They can't risk you choosing for yourself because you may choose the right thing. Which mostly is no contest. Some people would rather not fight than be forced to choose a side. Okay? Let's go into the Bad Bunny symbolism. Okay? Because there was a lot. And we're going to go briefly through this symbolism. We noticed that there was a cornfield and people working. We noticed that there were a few vendors. We had coconut vendors, food vendors. Okay? We noticed that there was different aspects, okay, of true Southern Americans, okay, of Spanish-speaking Americans working, okay, to show us the necessity of all Americans, but especially ones that they call minority. The minority runs this country. It has always been. And according to the Super Bowl, they're showing you that it always will be. Understand that Bad Bunny didn't show rebellion. Specifically. Okay? It did not show rebellion. It showed what it needed to show to convey a message. Okay? And the message was, the minority will always run this country. And when I mean run this country, I mean the minority will always work this country. When they choose to be minority. Remember, this is about a choice. Once you chose to be the minority, you also chose to be the foot soldiers. You also chose to just be the help on your own land. Minority is a choice. It involves no fact. The minorities here will be the immigrants that have come to these lands, not the indigenous peoples of this land. When Christopher Columbus sailed from Spain, okay, sailed from Spain, that was charioted and even financed by the king and queen, okay, by Henry Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, financed Christopher Columbus coming to the Americas. When this happened, I want you to understand the Spaniards were indeed the minority and still are. Okay? And although you may see a lot of Spanish speakers here, there aren't too many Spaniards in the lands of the Americas. Okay? So I want us to understand minority is a choice, as well as, okay, indigenous African peoples that does not speak Spanish. Because yes, those Spanish-speaking people are indeed of African descent. Let's first get that straight. The first inhabitants on the Americas were indeed Africans. Okay? Some of them are called Olmecs. You can read about this in the Olmec voyages. Okay? No, they weren't Aztecs, Mayans. They weren't none of those. Okay? Matter of fact, a few other cultures came over here through the Bering Straits. They didn't even travel the same routes, nor did they come at the same time. By the time the Mayan landed in America, the Olmecs have already been here for hundreds of years, okay, of African descent. Speaking on those same people of African descent, okay, that are indeed indigenous to this land we call the Americas. Once the Mayans came here, they were minority, okay? Once other Asian and Indian cultures came, they were also minority. Once different European families, okay, arrived on the shores of America, they were also minorities. They didn't claim minorityship, but they were. Okay? So I want us to understand minority is a choice. It is not a fact. The fact of the matter is there is not a minority in number of Spanish-speaking Americas in the Americas. There is not a minority of carbonated, copper-colored, or brown individuals in the Americas. In the Americas. Okay? There is not a minority. In fact, they are the majority if we're just looking at it from a number sense. The people who've been here the longest, there will be more of them. Okay? So I just want us to understand that about minority and majority. That is a choice. It's a choice. You can only choose to be a minority. Okay? Yes, you may be treated like a certain type. Okay? But that doesn't make you the minority. You must understand this. On a global scale, the Europeans that run the Americas rule. They don't run. They rule over the Americas. The tyrants that rule over the Americas are a minority on the entire globe as a whole. As a whole. The Europeans that run any aspect of anywhere on the globe, we must understand on a number scale, they are the minority on the entire globe. Of the globe. Okay? So, majority and minority is a choice. So, the Super Bowl game, bringing it back, the Super Bowl game and all the games held in the Coliseum, that is, are all there to represent choice, not to give choice, not to present choice, but to represent choice. Represent a choice that you do not have. Represent also a choice that you've already made continuously and habitually. Those of you who have chosen to be minority versus the majority. Those of you who have chosen to be in bondage versus the trials and tribulations that comes with freedom. Freedom isn't free. It will cost you. It will cost you your luxuries. It will cost you your comforts. It will cost you. Yes, it will cost you to be ostracized. It will cost you for being treated differently. It will cost you your freedoms, that is. But bondage will actually cost you nothing. Someone benefits from your bondage. All you have to do is say, yes, I accept. Okay? So to wrap it all up, I wanted us to understand this is still a fair game of choice. Okay? It's still a fair game of choice. You still have the option of the red pill and the blue pill. You still have the option of freedom and bondage. You still have the option of being treated like a human or being treated like an animal. You have the option of being treated like an animal or being treated like an inanimate object. Yes, because You don't even want to be treated like an animal in 2026 and moving forward. We've seen the way animals are treated, and a lot of them are also majority. A lot of animals are also majority. You know how many animals within the animal kingdom outpopulate humans? You know how many plants within the plant kingdom that outpopulate humans? Okay? So I want us to just understand the Super Bowl games and the games held in the Coliseum were all there to present a choice that was already made for you, and also a choice that you make every day. Okay? I want to leave you with this. Choose wisely. Okay? Nevertheless, you're invited to join me every Friday, 6 p.m. for another live exclusive. Okay? As the time go by, I will get better. Okay? As we see more, okay, of a community being built in and around us, okay, I will begin to offer more. Okay? So look out for scheduled live streams. Look out for upcoming videos. Okay? You can follow me on Yalil Laquan on all streaming platforms. You can follow me at Yalil Laquan on Instagram, TikTok, okay, where you can find a lot of different content. You can also follow me at Yalil Laquan on Twitch, where I also stream 9 p.m. on Wednesdays. Yes, on Wednesdays you get to get me on Twitch. You'll be able to see me play some music, okay? And I'll be able to give you different aspects of my creativity. I want to thank you. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being you. And nevertheless, let's get rich. TheLaquanFoundation.com. If you're looking for any copper essentials, if you're looking for my mushroom coffee, if you're looking for holistic teas, TheLaquanFoundation.com. That's LAKWAME Foundation.com.